when we finally got down to something which the individual says he really wants to do, I will say to him, you do that. And forget the money. Because if you say that getting the money is the most important thing, you will spend your life completely wasting your time. You'll be doing things you don't like doing in order to go on living, that is, to go on doing things you don't like doing, which is stupid. Better to have a short life that is full of what you like doing than a long life spent in a miserable way.
What is up, peeps? And before we get into today's episode, just a quick reminder, alphastateapparel.com.au. Alpha State Apparel have released some new designs. I actually even feature on their website. Make sure you check them out. Purchase one of their tees, purchase one of their tanks. Great looks, great quality stuff, guys. It is local entrepreneurs here in Perth, Australia. Check them out, buy some shit, and let's get into the show. Episode 64 of the Fit Pro podcast.
Yeah, I think that I'm not very good with business-related things. And so as much as I would love to have some brilliant marketing tips, I honestly don't think that I'm good at it. And when I need business-related advice, there's a few people in the industry that I reach out to. I don't know if you'd mind. Is it okay if I give a few shout-outs to some of the people that have been helpful to me? So I'm a member of Shredded by Science. Now, I am part of the podcast. I host some of those episodes, but I'm also a customer of – they have a program called SBS Elite, which is a private business-related service that they run. And they have been very helpful for me anytime I have a question with how to go about, any sort of like a marketing related thing or just how I run my business. That's been remarkably helpful. So what I do in terms of if questions come up, which they don't often for me because I'm not really aggressively promoting my business because I'm happy with where I'm at. But those people, Luke Johnson and Lawrence Judd, have been very, very helpful to me in that regard. And so I really don't feel like I'm an authority figure or an expert on the marketing aspect of things. I do think as far as just social networking goes, a couple of things that I think are very important. I feel like when I've been myself a bit more in the past year, it has helped my visibility on social media platforms. And so just letting your personality show, I think, is a good thing. I'm not going to say it's a good thing from a marketing standpoint, but just from a social media kind of visibility, for me, it's been a good thing. I also think it's a good thing to be a nice person. Yeah. And that might sound like a trivial piece of advice that is intuitively obvious, but I do feel it needs to be said that, it's a good thing to realize that you never know where your clients are going to come from. And so making sure that you're not insulting them and, just be a nice person and people will probably want to interact with you. And I would say that also applies as a coach itself. And so when you're working with your client base, you need to keep those rules in mind as well.
Yeah, and I think you're correct there in saying that just be a nice person. I think people forget that sometimes and put on a facade and want to be this different person. But just be genuinely you. I find that my best podcasts are when I'm not trying to be someone when I'm trying. My best podcast is when I'm being natural, is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. Yep. is when, like today, where it's 10 o'clock at night here and we're just talking. We're just having a conversation.
Yep. Or 8 in the morning here.
Or 8 in the morning. But... See, you just woke up, I'm going to go to bed, and we're having a conversation about online training. It's brilliant.
It's awesome.
And look, when you're a co-host on Shredded by Science, what do you talk about? Why are you on there?
Great question. So I got the invite to co-host a segment after I did a podcast on food environment, which is a topic that I like to talk about quite a bit. And that was the first podcast I did with them as a guest. And then they had a vacancy, and Lawrence Judd, who's a friend of mine, reached out and said, how would you like to host a segment of the podcast? And that's kind of where it started. And a lot of the segment that I co-host with Lawrence is something we call Fireside Chats. And it typically is either about a singular topic or it is a question and answer podcast where we take questions that come from the Eat, Train, Progress Facebook group. And so what we started doing is making Q&A threads where any member can go on there and post a question. And then Lawrence and I select the questions we want to talk about, and we do an entire podcast where we just answer all of those questions. And we've covered some very fascinating topics, in my opinion, because our users tend to generate some pretty interesting questions. So it covers a pretty wide variety.
That's perfect. At least you got that constant feed of ideas, because that's sometimes the biggest issue with podcasting and just being a creator in general. Sometimes you do lack a few ideas and you just need to push in the right direction. It's good to see that you guys got a thread where you get all these questions coming through. And ultimately, I'd like to personally create something like that myself. How do you then create a thread and get people interacting on that thread?
Well, I really think that it starts with creating the community itself. And so as long as you have a social media outlet that has good interaction, I really think that that's what you need in order to facilitate something like that.
And I mean, there's a whole bunch of numbers on social now. There's a whole bunch of analytical numbers, but there is all that really matters is engagement, because I've seen pages where you've got, say, 1 million people on it, but not many people comment, not many people do anything. There's no engagement. They just like and then piss off. And I've seen pages that have, for example, I think you've got just over 1,000 now on Eat, Train, Progress.
Yeah, we're in the 1,200s as of the time of recording right now.
Which is crazy, because when I joined like 3 weeks ago, or whatever, I think you were like in 700 or something. So you've had like a massive...
Yeah, you can. We can thank Alan for that. What happened was I was at 799, and I just made a post that said 799, and I think I don't know if you've seen the HNNNNG, I posted that after that, and then Alan got on and said, hey, I'll advertise this on my wall when I get home from the gym, and he did that overnight. Overnight, I got 280 new people between the time he posted it and me waking up the next morning. And so it's grown fairly rapidly. So thank you, Alan. But I'm also very pleased with the level of interaction. Like, we've had a couple of threads recently where Alan and Eric Helms and Ian McCarthy are going back and forth, and it's been great. I'm very pleased with the amount of social exchanges people are making on the page. Or in the group, I'm sorry, and it's been great.
It is, like, looking from obviously a member of the group, and just like constantly I'm getting notifications on my Facebook constantly, and it's making me go back and check, and all of it's interesting. It's nothing boring. There doesn't seem to be any trolls. You've created a good community where people can just interact and talk, which is brilliant.
Yeah, and I've made the rules very clear. Like, people are very welcome to post memes, and you can use foul language, and you can, be funny. Just don't personally attack people. Yeah. Don't talk about politics or religion. And if you leave those things off the table, and you're just, as long as you're not a dick to someone, you can go ahead and be a smart ass and be funny and let loose. Post memes, have a good time. Just have some baseline level of courtesy for each other, and other than that, it's a free for all. And I've been very encouraging to just tell people, hey, post lifting videos if you want to post a form check, go ahead, go right at it. Mm-hmm. And the other thing that I would say, like, a couple of philosophies that I've attempted to use in the group to boost interaction are providing people with good information, but then also information that provokes thought, and asking them to contribute their thoughts, because that's genuinely what I want. I don't want this to be strictly a place for me to give my opinions. It is that place, but it's not exclusively that place. It's a place where I also want people to tell me what they think and to share their information. And something that, relating to the Q&A thing for the podcast that we just talked about, one thing that I enjoy a great deal about the process that I go through with allowing people to ask any questions they want in a thread like that. I also, by the way, I do Q&A threads on my group in my Fitness Pal, so that audience can just post any questions, and then I just either answer them or I make a short video to answer them. But it allows me to grow and learn as a coach, because oftentimes I don't know the answer to the question. And so I have to go out and find the answer. And if I'm committing to someone that I'm going to answer this for you, I make my best effort to do that. Now, of course, there are cases where I'm like, I have no idea, outside of my scope, or just I have so much learning to do before I even touch that question that, hey, I don't know the answer. And that's fine. I'm okay with that. Like, it's not, it's okay to not know everything. Exactly. And that's been a growth step for me, because I think, like, in my early 20s, I don't know how much of that is youth and how much of that's my huge ego, but like there was definitely a time where I don't think I was as accepting of either being wrong or not having the answers. So
I saw a great quote the other day, and I think it was very much that, where it's okay not to know everything, and not to
absolutely
just be the quiet one in the room for once and just listen.
Yeah.
And I think, obviously that comes with age and experience, and a lot of young people like that, where they feel they need to know everything, and that is one of my biggest pet hates with personal trainers now and people in the fitness space, where they feel like they maybe they do 1-2 courses and now they know everything. They're a guru. That's just not true. It just makes no sense. And I agree. Back on your forum, no politics and religion is a great way to not have any sort of fights going on, or any sort of haters and trolls. I love that rule. I might adopt that one myself. I totally cool if people want to discuss that. I just don't want to discuss it in that space. Yeah. 100%. So look, it's. Look, I had no idea that MyFitnessPal was actually so involved forum-wise. I always used to use it as a macro calculator, but I just put my calories in. I had no idea there's this whole other side where there's a forum and a community and everything. How long have they been doing that? Because
I don't know when it originated. I just know that when I started, they had a community. It was quite active. Okay. So not sure.
Because I think a lot of people don't even realize that as well. So guys, if you're listening and use MyFitnessPal, there's a whole social media community on there as well. That's brilliant.
And there's some really intelligent people contributing on those forums too, that aren't necessarily as active in other social media platforms. So there's a few guys that I consider very knowledgeable that have a lot of good things to contribute, but we don't see these people necessarily on Facebook and other platforms. So
look, I'm definitely going to check it out after this, and if you like, send me the link to your MyFitnessPal as well as all your social, and I'll promote it on here anyway.
Definitely.
Look, Pat, as a online coach, and now you've been doing this for about 4 years, has there ever been a moment, because we've got to make it real for people, it's not always it's not always roses, it's not always a nice day. I'm sure there's times where you are stressed. What has been your lowest point as an online coach?
Boy, that's a great question. I can't identify any specific points that I would consider like a lowest point, but I can definitely identify mistakes that I've made and things that I've learned since starting out. With that, even though I'm not answering the exact question, would that be a sufficient thing to discuss?
Perfect. Go for it.
So, without going into too much detail, I'm a very big believer in taking what I would call like a multifaceted approach to helping someone lose weight. And so, for example, we can talk about how calorie deficits are responsible for fat loss. That's a true statement. I don't consider that to be a point that there's much debate in terms of, we know that caloric balance is an underlying factor with weight gain, weight loss. Yep. So being a calorie deficit, you lose weight. But that's not the same thing as saying that all you need to do is be in a calorie deficit and nothing else matters. And it's certainly not the same thing as believing that if you're not in a calorie deficit, that let me rephrase that. Telling someone just reduce calories and move more, that does not constitute coaching. So when I first got into it, I believed that if you understood how to manipulate calorie and macronutrient intake to produce a given result, that's how you coach people. And I think that's a pretty ridiculous opinion to have now that I'm where I'm at now, and the experiences that I've had, because there's just so many things in terms of like helping someone through, I'll just name a few topics: sleep quantity and quality. So if you can assist a client with that when they're formerly having problems with it, you'll probably substantially boost their diet adherence. how much life stress someone has at any given moment can have a profound impact on their ability to execute a plan. How someone's food environment is arranged can have an influencing, it can influence the food choices that they make, and consequently, it can affect their adherence to the diet. And I recall a point in time where I was oblivious to the importance of all of these additional factors outside of just looking at numerically calorie and macronutrient intake and looking at activity levels and looking at numbers of sets and reps and things like that. And so I can certainly think of examples where I probably could have done a much better job helping clients early on where I'd have the knowledge base that I have now. Yep. I can also cite examples where I could have been a little bit more blunt with certain clients to get better results. I am absolutely not one of these, I'll say, for lack of a better word, militant style coaches. You know, I don't believe that you can just be super strict with someone and that's the way to get results with most people. Mm-hmm. Some people, that's probably correct. There are probably some people that might just need a verbal kick to the pants, so to speak, to get them motivated, but I don't believe that that's the way to motivate most people. And so I can think of situations where, going back, I think I probably was too easy on this person, and I think they actually needed a little bit more. Like, they might have been better off with the coach that is a little more strict and a little more militant, for lack of a better word. But that's just not who I am. It's not my style of coaching. But I'm open to the idea that some people might need that. I just don't think most do.
Good answer. Look, you definitely answered the question a different way, which is brilliant. But in saying that, your lowest point, what's been your highest point so far?
Oh man, there've been a lot of high points, and I don't mean to give another crap answer and say that I can't identify a high point, but I can think of so many examples where the career that I'm in, the coaching career, is just so rewarding that, you know, I've had examples of clients who lose 30 or 40 pounds and they come back with better blood work and a good review from their physician. Now, I would never make the claim, hey, I'm going to put you on a program to reduce your chances of getting diabetes or something that's going to, you know, change this particular health outcome. But I will say that does happen. Mm-hmm. And when it does, you just feel like $1 million because you're making a substantial difference in someone's life. And that ultimately is the most rewarding feeling ever. And so, I could list off several that basically revolve around clients getting the results that they want to get and being very pleased with it, and knowing that these results go a lot deeper than someone being able to see their abs, or someone being able to hit a PR on their squat, or someone being able to go lift on a platform. These, in some cases, are results that spill over into other aspects of their life. And these are results that, and again, not saying that, you know, I would never make the claim that I can get all these results in everyone. All I'm saying is that when these results happen, and I know that it's something that's impacting all aspects of someone's life and it's making the quality of their life better, it just makes you feel like $1 million, and it just makes you want to do this. And that's, you know, that's how I feel about it.
There's definitely no better feeling than that, man. You nailed that.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
It's amazing. That was one of the reasons why I became a personal trainer, because ultimately, when you help someone improve their quality of life, not only lose weight, and the physical changes are great, but when you see someone genuinely, internally better off than they were before they came to you, there's definitely no better feeling, man. And Pat, look, I think we've got 10 minutes left. What are some of your insights from being an online coach to anybody that's looking at getting into online coaching? What are some insights? What are some of Pat's insights?
I think it's a good idea to find a way to get experience, and while I wouldn't necessarily say that everyone should do what I did, because I think that's a little narrow-minded, I will just say that my choice to give away my service for an extended period of time was a very, very good decision. I would say that be very open to not having the answers to all of the questions. It's okay to be wrong. I think that's an important thing to embrace, because I think that the ability and the willingness to be wrong, and when I say that, I mean, I will be on Skype and a client might ask me a question and my answer will be, I don't know, but I'm going to try to find the answer for you. Yeah. And I think that having the willingness to do that is an important step, both in terms of being a real person to your clients, in terms of being honest, but also in terms of adopting a growth mindset where you are going to attempt to learn yourself so that you can better coach other people. And I also think it sets a good example, which is a minor point to include there. I think that one of the most important skills as a coach, two things that I think are very important. One would be having a sense of empathy for your clients. I think that everyone has a unique set of life circumstances and a unique history that causes them to think and to believe the way that they do. And I think being compassionate towards them can go a very long way. And I think that they need to be made aware of that. And so I can say with confidence that my clients all know that I genuinely care about them as people. And I think that that's a very important quality to have. And I think that you can, in some people, even get better results that way because you are bonding with them and they are getting a sense of your support throughout their process. I think that it's very important to ask questions. And so I would say most of the time, at least with the majority of people that I work with, not everyone, of course, what you ask and have them answer is oftentimes more important than what they ask and what you answer. And so asking the right questions, giving them the space to answer those questions, and sometimes them not even answering the question, but the fact that you're asking it causes them to think about a certain behavior or a certain topic can be profoundly important. And then finally, I would say listen to them and truly listen to what they're telling you, and let them know that you're listening. And I think that those are more social related skills that I think I consider them to be very, very important from a coaching standpoint.
And I would have to agree with you there, man. Empathy and listening is stuff that isn't taught, and it's definitely stuff that needs to be learned with experience. And I'm glad that that's something that you do. But Patrick, look, we've come to the end of the podcast, and it's been great having you on. Is there anything else you'd like to say?
No, if you don't mind me doing a final plug, E-Train Progress is the name of the group, and I'll provide you with some links, but I would invite all of your listeners, if they would like to participate in discussions, you'll have to send a join request, but I approve all requests. And then if you end up spamming, you'll just get removed. So if you have a photograph in Facebook of $24.99 Oakleys, I will probably not accept your invite. But other than that, I will invite everyone and clean it up on the back end if anyone's a spammer. But please send a join request. You're more than welcome to participate. And it's a great community. And thanks for having me on, Marvin. I appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.
Thanks for coming on, man. And look, definitely send me those links. I will stick them in the show notes and get them going to you.
Will do.
Pat, I've been doing this for a while, and I still don't know how to sign these damn podcasts off. I don't know how to get off them, just say goodbye. But how do you guys do it over at Shredded by Science? How did you sign out?
I'll tell you what, Lawrence handles all of the technical stuff. He does all the recording, and then they have an editor that chops the footage and stuff. So he has a way, when he's done with the call, he just shuts it off. Mm-hmm. And then we still chat about how it went and talk about a few things. But that's how he does it. He has a software thing where he just hits an off button, as far as I know. So maybe it's just a huge red button that just says Off.
Perfect, Pat. Thanks for coming on today, man. Thanks for obviously giving all your insights from your actually amazing career at the moment. I wish I had what you got going, and I'm sure there's people listening that are going to take a lot of this information and implement it. Again, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Guys, we're done. This is how I'm ending today's podcast. We're done. That was episode 64 of the Fit Pro podcast, part 2 of Patrick Umphrey's interview. He's a great person to interview. We'll have him on again. His story is quite amazing. Make sure you check out his links in the show notes. A lot of you are aware that we have a goal this year to hit 50 reviews on iTunes. If we can get past that, that'd be great, but we want to hit 50. So if you want to help out, guys, make sure you head to iTunes and search for the Fit Pro podcast, or click the link below in the show notes. Give us a 4, 5, 6, 7 star review. We can only do up to 5, but give us a review, an honest review, what we can improve, as well as what are we doing correctly. Every review matters, and to hit 50 will be a big achievement for us. I'll definitely celebrate by doing a giveaway for that. And everybody else that has already subscribed to the Fit Pro podcast on iTunes, thanks so much. Everybody that's left a review, thank you so much. And I will catch you on the next one, episode 65. Peace.